They canceled the sale. I had to fight with them through lawyers to get them to sell me the watch for a much higher price, but I just wanted the watch.
What's on the wrist?
I have a very special early 60s rose gold day date, but with Arabic numerals, Arabic date wheels. Funny enough, I found this watch a couple years ago on eBay. It was listed from a random like jewelry store out of upstate New York. Bought it immediately for what seemed like an attractive price. They canceled the sale. I had to fight with them through lawyers to get them to sell me the watch for a much higher price, but I just wanted the watch. It wasn't even the amount. And so it took me a year and a half after actually buying it on eBay to getting the watch.
So how did you get into vintage watches?
So I used to work and live in Russia, out of the country. I used to be a practicing attorney. Over there, they only have modern watches. They don't sell vintage watches because the first brand to set up shop there was Ulysse Nardin in the 90s. So there's really not a lot of vintage there. So I would read about them like Hodinkee, all this kind of stuff. And every time I'd travel home, I would buy a small watch to kind of get my feet wet. Then it wasn't until I traded a Panerai and an AP for a vintage 6262 Daytona where it like really set off my love for vintage, and I just went deep down the rabbit hole.
Are there any brands or models out there that are underrated, that have potential?
I find brands like Gallet, Universal Genève, Hoyer, stuff like that, completely underrated and undervalued. And especially now with the revitalization by Breitling of UG and soon to be Gallet, there's a lot of potential there for growth. And there's such a great base of collectors and so much knowledge there, some fantastic watches that when you see these crazy prices for Rolex, AP, Patek, Cartier, it makes you scratch your head why people wouldn't pay that much for a tri-complex, that's still similar build quality to a lot of those watches.
What would be your top tips for someone that wants to buy vintage?
Buy what you like, don't listen to anybody, influencers, guys like me. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. You have to look down at the watch on your wrist and like it. Then the other cliche advice is to know what you're buying, do your research, know who you're dealing with.